get Dad. Remember the story there? They all come down in the wagons and they move into the land of Goshen in Egypt. They get stuck there for 400 and some years, as made slaves out of later, when there got to be about 2 million of them, and Moses leads them out 400 years later. But Jacob is being introduced to Pharaoh. Here's Joseph introducing his dad. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob in Genesis 47, very interesting passage. Pharaoh said unto Jacob, How old art thou? Jacob said unto Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been. Now, let's stop right there. Remember, Jacob is the one that tricked his own brother out of his birthright? He tricked his brother a couple times, didn't he? Later on, Jacob got tricked. They said, oh, here's Joseph's coat, he's dead. The trickster got tricked. I think there's a verse in the Bible about something like that. Whatsoever you sow, that shall you also reap, right? And boy, Jacob sure did. And he said, I've lived 130 years and they've been few and evil. And a person that lives a wicked lifestyle, his life it's hard. The Bible says the way of the transgressor is hard. People that don't live for God have a hard life. Their conscience bothers them, all looking over their shoulder, see if somebody's going to catch up with them for something. Man, it's great living for God. You don't have to worry about what other people think. You don't have to worry about getting caught because you're trying to do what's right. But then he said, the days of the years of my life have been, and he said, and have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers. Why would he add a phrase like that? Pharaoh, I'm 130. I've had a rough life. However, I'm not near as old as my fathers. Now, let's go back and look at the chart. Jacob, the guy who said this to Pharaoh, could have known Shem, Arphaxad, Selah, and Eber. How'd you like to meet somebody 460 years old? Interesting thought here. We'll have to quit in a few minutes. But as a person gets older, the bones in the forehead get thicker. They get thick-headed. Some people do it when they're young, but it really happens when a person passes 100, strange things begin to happen to their physiology. For instance, as a person grows older, if they're still producing a certain hormone from the pituitary gland, I believe it is, their ears start to get longer. You ever seen old people that got real long ears? Or the nose gets wider. The disease is called acromegaly, excess secretion of hormones in old age. But there's a great book called Buried Alive, which deals with the so-called cavemen. We'll get into more of that later. But he goes through how that some of the skeletons they're finding with the bigger eyebrow ridges are just people who are living past 100. That's all. They're not. Neanderthals weren't primitive. They're same size as us, brain bigger than ours, just got bigger eyebrow ridges. And so they interpret this as evidence for evolution, when actually it's probably evidence they were living longer. Well, if you've got a whole generation of people that are living to be 400 years old, I mean, this went on for several generations, didn't it? Maybe what they're finding are the skeletons of these folks that are post-flood. They probably buried them somewhere, don't you think? Where are they? Well, I don't know, but it's just a thought that maybe some of the Neanderthals are actually post-flood. Textbooks say the earth is billions of years old. The Bible teaches pretty clearly, Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. Now, there's an obvious conflict between what the two teach. So we have to come to the question, either Jesus knew what he was talking about, or he was lying, or he was just ignorant. He just didn't understand science. And very frequently, if you watch the debates I get in at universities, they will try very subtly to say, they'll say things like, well, you know, the average person just doesn't understand how complex evolution is. And I get up and I say, folks, what he's trying to say is, you're too dumb to understand, and he's smart. And that's exactly what they do. Eric, you run into this all the time. Do you point that out to them? What you're saying, sir, is you're smart and we're all too dumb, right? Boy, they don't like it put that simply, but that's exactly what they're implying. And watch for that. You'll see it over and over and over when you get in discussions on creation and evolution. They try in all sorts of subtle ways to say, well, you know, science is pretty complex, and the average layman doesn't understand it. Yeah, okay, here we go again. You're smart, we're dumb. That's exactly what they're trying to imply. So, Jesus claimed to be God. I like Josh McDowell's thing on this. He says, well, Since Jesus claimed to be God, we got three choices. He's either the Lord, or he's a lunatic, or he's a liar. Because if somebody claims to be God, he either is or he isn't. If he isn't, he's either crazy or he's lying. If I claimed to be Napoleon reincarnated, you would know either I am or I'm not, right? Now, if I'm not, then I'm loony. Heard about the guy that went to the mental institution, you know? And this guy is standing there with his arm in his coat, his hand in his coat, and somebody said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Napoleon." He said, "Oh yeah? Who told you you're Napoleon?" He said, "God did." The guy down the hall yelled out, "I did not." So, Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning, folks. Now we got a problem here. Was he lying, or did he not understand? There are some Christians going around trying to teach the earth is billions of years old and we can fit it in fine with the Bible. Well, they're calling Jesus either dumb or a liar. Matthew 19:4 is an important verse, folks. You just can't get around it. He said that was the beginning. Textbooks say the earth is billions of years old. Isn't it all through the textbooks? Billions of years ago, millions of years ago, 4.6 billion years ago this happened. Do you think this stuff is taught in our county, right here? Do you realize there's over 150 churches in Escambia County, Florida? I've heard that the next county, Santa Rosa, is listed in Guinness Book of World Records as having the most churches per capita in the world. I don't know that that's true, but I believe it is. Certainly a lot of churches over there, right? This is the Bible Belt, right? Why, in the middle of the Bible Belt with all these Christians, do we have textbooks teaching something that calling Jesus a liar? When I first moved to town, I went down and talked to Katie Knight, who was at that time in charge of the science curriculum in Escambia County. I wrote letters. I tried to be nice. I went and visited her twice. I said, "Katie, why are we teaching this evolution in the textbooks? Look what you have in this book. This says blah, blah, blah. This has been proven wrong 100 years ago. Get that out of the books." She said, "Mr. Hovind, you are the only person in the county complaining about evolution in the textbooks." I thought, where is everybody? Isn't our job to be the salt of the earth? Doesn't salt preserve? What salt does, when it finds a bacteria, it sucks all the water out of it and kills it. That's our job. Salt irritates. If nobody's irritated at you, you're probably not a very good Christian. Now, you don't have to try to irritate people. You just try to be salty. That will irritate them. I'm just trying to be salty, that's all. My job is to preserve. And if that means we got kids going to go to school tomorrow morning and be poisoned, I should try to stop that. Right? I just take it kind of personal.